Good afternoon. Welcome to Nationwide on NTA. We are live in Abuja. I am Ogochkuka Ona. The House of Representatives has urged the Federal Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy to work with security agencies in investigating the use of telecommunications networks and financial systems by bandits to facilitate ransom payments. Lawmakers at today's plenary note that the brazen use of telecommunications and banking institutions by bandits should be exploited to track their criminal activities and bring them to justice.
The situation has deteriorated to the point where bandits now often provide bank accounts for ransom payment to be made for kidnapped victims. In the first few months, there has not been a 48-hour period without a bandit attack in Paskari and Karasabwa Federal Constituency of Katsina State. Urge the security agencies to block such channels of communication and financial transaction used by the criminals.
In other resolutions, the House asked the federal government to review the budgetary allocation of the National Orientation Agency, describing existing funding as grossly inadequate for the agency to effectively discharge its mandate.
Of youth restiveness and social biases in the nation, there is definitely an urgent need to implement measures for effective reorientation of citizens to curb biases, reorient the people, and encourage growth within our society.
And Senate wants the federal government to have in place a comprehensive action plan to tackle recurring flood disasters in Nigeria. Senate also commended President Bola Tinubu for setting up the Disaster Relief Fund and called for provisions in the 2025 budget for the dredging of rivers Benue and Niger as a preventive measure against flood. This call from the Senate was sequel to motions from Senator Adegbomire Ayodele and Senator Amos Yohana on the recent devastation of flood in communities in Ondo and Adamawa states.
The Committee on Legislative Compliance will ensure that NEMA, FEMA, and relevant agencies of government rise to the occasion to ameliorate the sufferings of the people. And our heart goes out in sympathy to families that have been displaced and are affected.
Senate urged concerned authorities to be prompt in making available some form of relief to those affected. The federal government has budgeted 50 billion naira to support the growth of small and medium-scale enterprises and to disburse conditional cash transfer of 25,000 naira to 15 million Nigerians for 60 months. Senior Special Assistant to the President on Community Engagement, Abiodun Esset, said this during a high-level community engagement in Abuja South, where stakeholders were sensitized on the benefits of the Renewed Hope agenda. The SSA said Bola Tinubu's presidency has prioritized the needs of Nigerians in areas of social infrastructure and security, human capital development, and urged them to actively participate freely in the process of governance and oversight community-oriented projects.
So use the feedback gathered here to translate into changes in policy and laws. And we're also looking at infrastructural problems that has to do with federal government interventions. We are looking at also humanitarian services that has to do with federal government intervention. We know this is a flooding time and flooding period. We are also using the same moment to also sensitize our people about issues about flooding.
National Orientation Agency, traditional rulers and relevant stakeholders underscored activities of government and appealed for inclusion in driving policies and programs aimed at improving livelihood and changing the narrative of rural and urban settlements.
Everybody will be satisfied.
This policy is aimed to redirect funds previously used for subsidies towards critical sectors.
The initiative is driven by the Office of the SSA to Presidents on Community Engagement in North Central as a platform in understanding federal government's policy reforms and programs. And now, following the successful launch of 2,000 compressed natural gas tricycles on the 1st of October, the federal government has launched a portal that would ensure youths not only benefit, but also participate in developing this TNG project. Minister of State for Youth Development, Ayodele Olawande, stated this in Abuja. Olayinka Ojo reports.
The initiative, expected to create millions of jobs, is in line with federal government's promise to ensure equal access to government programs and projects, as well as transparency and fairness.
I therefore use this opportunity to call on all youth who works within the commercial transportation sector. For those who have interest in joining the sector, to enlist.
We are also saving the nation in terms of the cost that is typically spent on subsidy on petrol.
Of the project. President, National Commercial Tricycle and Motorcycle Owners and Riders Association, Sani Hassan, assured the minister of the association's commitment to mobilize members to achieve the mandate.
We will also do our best to make sure the CNG tricycle given to our members will make very good use of it, and to make sure prompt and successful repayment of the tricycle, because it's not given to us free of charge. We have to pay it back.
The portal has two websites. Olayinka Ojo, NTA News.
The federal government has reiterated commitment to allocating resources to ensure the commencement of the special agro-processing zones before December this year. Musa Baba Aliyu reports.
Agro-industrial processing zones came into being in 2019 like a newborn baby. But 7 years later, it is yet to take its first step. Federal government, African Development Bank and Islamic Development Bank, alongside International Fund for Agricultural Development, are the financial of the project. This stakeholders meeting was organized under the supervision of the African Development Bank.
Is that we need to force, and I use the word force, a transition from our low-income, low-equilibrium economy to at least a middle-income economy.
We want to accelerate, but this acceleration must be enabled in compliance with financial agreements, with policies and procedure. This is really important.
Ministers of Agriculture and Food Security and that of Finance spoke on the factors responsible for the delayed takeoff and way out.
We will ensure they are fully equipped to execute their responsibilities as outlined in the project appraisal document, and to deliver the accelerated implementation plan in line with the outcomes of today's discussions.
In which we can re-emphasize and recommit our determination to make the SAPZ model that is spread throughout the states of Nigeria.
7 states are currently participating in the first phase of the project. Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Nigeria has joined Latin American nations, India, and the World Trade Organization in calling for the suspension of EU regulations on deforestation and agricultural produce ban. Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Abubakar Kyari, stated this while inaugurating the National Task Force on European Union deforestation regulation. The EU emphasized that any company intending to penetrate their market or export will ensure that the produce or product is not from deforestation areas. The committee inaugurated by the minister is to ensure Nigeria is not sidelined at the European markets.
1. Coordination on relevant stakeholders towards having a national approach on EU DR. 2. Design, implementation, and funding strategy for National Task Force on EU DR. 3. Review and adopt state plan for nationwide implementation. 4. Drive a sustainable advocacy and sensitization program on EU DR.
Osun State witnessed very low downpour of rainfall in the early parts of the rainy season, a situation which has transformed into an unrelenting downpour, significantly impacting local farmers. Kayode Oladoshu examines the effect of consistent rainfall on agricultural practices in Osun State.
Rainfall pattern in 2024 affected by climate change created a slight setback for farmers in Osun State. After weeks of worrying, farmers in Osun are now relieved to see constant rainfall blessing their crops. However, the slow and steady downpour brings both hope and new challenges.
I would say that the rain is not friendly this time around because we have excess of rain. And this rain is causing a lot of damage to our farm.
When the rain is falling daily, it will affect the farm product. But we thank God that it is falling now. The sun is still rising.
The gradual rains have provided much needed moisture for maize, cassava, and yams, but experts ask this advice for farmers.
A lot of crops will be affected when we have consistent rainfall. But then I must also say that it depends on the type of crops. For crops like lowland rice, there won't be any problem with them once there is water management in the swamp. I mean, in the lowland where they are growing the rice. But for crops like maize, they are definitely going to be affected when we don't have enough sunshine.
As the nation continues to strive for more optimum food security, the situation in Osun highlights the urgent need for sustainable farming practices in the face of climate change. In Osogbo, Kayode Oladoshu, NTA News.
And we'll now be joining Kayode Oladoshu also in Osun, but this time live to tell us more on the impact on farmers. Hello, Kayode. What more can you tell us on the impact of the low rainfall on farmers this season?
The rainy season in Nigeria is traditionally a period of hope and growth for farmers, as it is bringing the essential water needed for crops to thrive. However, climate change has led to increasing erratic weather patterns, resulting in periods where expected rainfall is either delayed or completely absent. The case here in Osun State is quite different. At the onset of rain, where farmers are expected to commence planting early this year, we had little rainfall, creating mixed feelings for farmers. Despite the abrupted rainfall, farmers still go ahead to plant. However, the consistent level of rainfall recently in Osun has now become a concern for farmers. Though, when we take a look at it with the consistent rainfall, it is a blessing for agricultural practices, but also it has adverse effect on crop development. Experts I spoke with said that effects of consistent rainfall on farmland can cause soil erosion and wash away of valuable topsoil. They are therefore harming the agricultural products. For example, when we take a look at a plant like tomatoes, it will be affected where there is excess water while planting tomato. But for farmers that are planting rice, it is a plus for them, especially farmers that are planting rice on low land swamp. So the advice of experts to farmers when there is excessive rainfall is to delay some of their crops. Some crops can thrive during the when there is excessive rainfall, but some they have to put it on hold.
Saying goes, one month's meat is another month's poison. So yes, the rains were late or delayed in coming. There were, however, predictions to help in planning. So what measures have been taken by both the state government and farmers themselves to take advantage of the prediction?
You know, at the moment, it's natural occurrence. We can't run away from it. But farmers have tried as much as possible to key into the advice of the experts to make sure that any plant that they will put on the soil must be a tolerance towards the rainfall purposes for the plant. So the government also is sensitizing the farmers not to plant during any excessive rainfall in the state. That is what is on hold now. So many farmers are complaining about this excessive rainfall that is not favorable to them. But lo and behold, when we take a look at it, it's a blessing. It's also a negative aspect of it that is not welcoming with the farmers.
All right, thank you very much, Kayode. So, lastly, how is harvesting like? What is the impact? Harvesting.
The harvest is very low. At the beginning of the year, the rainfall was ceased, and then towards this period that we are supposed to be having an optimum rainfall, on daily basis, we are experiencing rainfall. So due to that, some plants that are supposed to be harvested has been delayed because the farmers had to delay their planting as well.
All right, thank you so much, Kayode Oladoshu in Osun, for that wonderful contribution. And now from Osun, Osogbo will be heading straight to Lagos for more reports. And Hingino John Adams is there. Hello, Hingino, you're on.
Thank you, Ogochukwuka. The federal government's decision to remove value-added tax VAT on basic foods for some months is to make essential food commodities not only accessible but affordable for Nigerians. This government says is part of ways of cushioning the effect of current economic realities. Lanre Bele takes a look at implications of the directive.
The removal of value-added tax, VAT, on selected food items in the country, government believes will address supply gaps adding to the current economic realities. The directive is temporary to avoid undermining the long-term strategies put in place to safeguard local farmers and manufacturers.
This is movement in the right direction, especially with respect to food in the country, because the way the country is now, the supply of food is far, far lower than the demand. And this is why the price is rising on a daily basis.
And we can begin to see the effect from manufacturers whose cost profile will go down. When their cost profile goes down, it means they can make more profit. When they can make more profit, it means they can employ more people. When they employ more people, they pay people and create disposable income for them.
Some of the foods that are expected to be sold without VAT include honey, semi-processed or raw bread, maize, rice, wheat, barley, cooking oils, culinary herbs, flour, fresh or dried meat, milk, and others. Authorities have emphasized that the order does not apply when such basic food items are sold in restaurants, hotels, eateries, lounges, and similar places, or sold by contractors, caterers, and other vendors. In Lagos, Lanre Bileyi, NTA News.
And still on the economy, addressing the challenges mitigating against hitch-free trade is pivotal to achieving economic inclusion of small-scale entrepreneurs and accelerating economic growth. These experts believe will help businesses to grow beyond their formative stages in Nigeria. Joel Popola has the report.
Each free movement of goods and services and free trade zones, according to economic experts, are salient enablers of economic development in any country, and Nigeria is no exception. Over the years, the federal government has adopted a series of policies to achieve trade facilitation, including remodeling Nigeria's port operations to hasten clearance of goods at the port. While this is commendable, the numerous checkpoints along the borders have to be reduced to allow easy movement of goods.
There are so many incumbents to trade facilitation. Look at the checkpoint along semi-axis. During the night, you can see not less than 70 checkpoints. We see a situation whereby 3 or 4 different agencies are controlling one item.
The border officials will also need to realign themselves to facilitating trade. And look up here. a situation where every year government sets up a kind of mandate, say, look, this is what the custom will have to bring in. It gives a kind of psych that every kind of goods you see, hold it, collect money.
Access to information and credit facilities are also factors that need urgent attention for trade facilitation and ease of doing business to be achieved.
If you see some of the products that come out from our women, you will be doubly impressed. But the fact is, the finance to ensure that we have the kind of quantity that would be a game changer for their businesses is actually missing.
Experts believe having a proper documentation of business owners and traders through their respective associations will help government policies and initiatives achieve the desired results. In Lagos, Joel Bukbola, NTA News.
Those are the stories from Lagos. Nationwide continues in Maiduguri after the break.
We hope you're still on to Nationwide on the Nigerian Television Authority. The news belt now continues in Maiduguri. Maiduguri's devastating flood did not just destroy homes and infrastructure, but also threatened the education of thousands of pupils and students, with learning materials destroyed and uniforms ruined. However, hope arrived for the students as Katai and Cosford jointly extended helping hand to bridge the gap by donating 10 million naira for the uniforms and writing materials. The generous donation was received by the Commissioner of Education, Lawan Abba Wakilbe. Pauline Kujevana completes the story.
On behalf Commissioner of Education Lawan Abba Wakilbe expressed gratitude for the gesture and highlighted Borno State government's effort in ensuring that affected schools and communities receive necessary support.
As you bring in more of the materials as promised, you could continue to contact this group so that we target students that are in this affected school.
Wakilbe emphasized the need for further mobilization to improve enrollment and retention rates through provision of writing and non-writing materials, commending UNICEF and Save the Children's earlier support of dignity kits, stressing the importance of a diversified and collective approach to overcome the devastating impact of floods and insurgency. Executive directors of Katai, who is also the focal person for the Education Emergency Response Working Group, Abubakar Sadiq Muazu, and that of Casford, Benjamin John, explained that the 10 million naira donation will cater for books and uniforms for the affected pupils and students, stating that their goal is to ensure affected victims recover and thrive.
Pledging to support the government within the coming week with 700 kitted bags with schools, kitted bags with books, which will support the returns of children.
Our support is just a drop in the ocean to ensure that few children out of the many are able to get. We believe that this is just the beginning. More partners are coming in to support.
This joint donation shows the strength of community spirit and collaboration, bringing hope for a better Borno despite the floods and insurgency. In Maiduguri, Pauline Kujevana, NTA News.
Let's talk security now. Borno State Police Command has paraded 4 suspects over alleged involvement in car theft as well as robbing passengers inside commercial tricycle, popularly referred to as Keke Napep. The report.
The apprehension of Mari Paul and Modu Ishaku over their alleged involvement in car theft followed a report filed in by one Musa Abubakar at the police headquarters Maiduguri on the 9th of September 2024 regarding the theft of his car. In response, the police crack squad swiftly took action, which led to the successful recovery of 6 stolen vehicles. The 2 suspects have confessed their involvement in the stealing of the 6 vehicles at different locations within Maiduguri metropolis and environs.
The command has made significant achievement with the breakthrough, worthy to mention, to serve as deterrent to the public.
The police also paraded Salih Muhammad and Adamu Muhammad for their specialty in robbing passengers of their belongings inside commercial tricycle, especially mobile phones. A mobile phone worth 100,000 naira as well as the sum of 143,410 naira were recovered from the suspects belonging to one Luca Mora, who earlier reported the missing items to the police on 2nd October this year. Borno State Police Command, while reiterating commitment to eradicate criminal activities and ensure public safety, says all the 4 suspects will be charged to court for prosecution upon completion of investigations. The police has urged the public to remain vigilant and report suspicious activities promptly for emergency assistance. In Maiduguri.
And from Maiduguri, we shall now return to Ogochukwuka in Abuja for more reports for us.
Thank you, Abubakar. Back here in 2018, the World Health Organization, WHO, launched the global strategy to accelerate the elimination of cervical cancer, aiming for a world where no woman dies from cervical cancer. In line with this, the National Institute for Cancer Research and Treatment is building the capacity of health workers and caregivers at the primary and secondary levels to help reduce the growing burden by equipping them to screen women and girls for proper referrals to oncologists. Uche Ugochukwu reports and now has details.
Cervical cancer claims thousands of lives annually in Nigeria, with an estimated 14,943 new cases diagnosed in 2020 alone. Inadequate prompt detection and treatment have contributed to the gaps in combating the disease.
All over the world, it has the same etiology, which is HPV. Why is it that our women are dying of this highly preventable cancer?
The Nigerian Institute for Cancer Research and Treatment, NICRAT, is set to bridge these gaps by training health workers across the 6 geopolitical zones of the country to equip them with cutting-edge techniques for early cancer detection and proper screening protocols.
It is my pleasure that, I'm part of the training to help people that are dying.
I expect as I'm living here, I should be taking back to my people the current trends in the diagnosis and management.
This initiative, NICRAT believes, will reduce death rates of women and girls from cervical cancer.
Part of the thing that the NICRAT is doing currently, which is extracted from our 5-year strategic plan, is to equip our primary and secondary healthcare workers.
Girls aged 9 to 14 are, however, encouraged to take the free HPV vaccine for protection against the disease. Uche Ugochukwu, NTA News.
And still talking health, Borno State Ministry of Health confirms significant progress in controlling the cholera outbreak with no new confirmed cases since the initial 17 cases with 0 deaths recorded. Pauline Kujevana has details.
Prior to the outbreak of cholera disease in Borno, World Health Organization (WHO) graded Maiduguri and environs as high risk, considering the flood disaster which contaminated waters with mix of sewage, corpses, and other pollutants. This development necessitated proactive measures by both federal and state governments, as well as partners to activate response mechanism, first by providing 300,000 oral cholera vaccination, out of which 97% were utilized. Commissioner of Health Baba Malam Gana confirmed the 17 cases have been treated and discharged, attributing this success to swift interventions by government and non-governmental organizations and other humanitarian partners.
We're expecting any moment now 600,000 more doses, which will come our way. I'm very grateful to many of my colleagues here who had to cross waters and difficult terrains to reach out to some communities who needed the vaccination.
Despite progress, continued vigilance is crucial to prevent future outbreaks, especially amidst ongoing flood recovery efforts. In Maiduguri, Pauline Kujevana, NTA News.
And now to politics. Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara has expressed dismay over the actions of some yet-to-be-identified persons involved in the burning of some local government secretariats in the state. Governor Fubara, who condemned such level of violence and disregard for government infrastructure, was speaking when he inspected the extent of damage at Ikwere Local Government Council. And that place is in Isiopo. Osinachi Samuel has details.
Siminalayi Fubara's visit to the burnt Ikwere Local Government Secretariat by a group of suspected political thugs left him wondering why people would go to such extent just to prove a needless point. He said such politically motivated destruction was unwarranted as the facilities being destroyed were built with taxpayers' money. He expressed sadness over the incident at the council and a few others and called for an end to further destruction.
Even if one advises you to go and destroy a government facility, you would think twice. Play your politics with a sense of responsibility. We don't need to kill ourselves. But I leave all to the security agencies to do a thorough work and let us know the people that are behind this arson.
The governor advising on the need to act responsibly, irrespective of the level of provocation. From Isiokpo in Ikwere local government area of Rivers State, Osinachi Samuel, NTA News.
In the meantime, Inspector General of Police Kayode Egbetokun has refuted insinuations in some quarters that the police was partisan in the recently concluded local government elections in Rivers State, describing it as false, noting that its decision to boycott the local government elections was premised on a series of court orders calling for stir-off action. The first public relations officer, Muyiwa Adejobi, at a media briefing to clear the misconception on their role in the election, said the court orders restrained the police from providing security for the election.
Among the prevailing forces of partisanship and reaffirms its neutrality and non-interference in political affairs within the state and the country in general, as the Nigerian police force only acted in line with an existing court judgment of the Federal High Court. Firstly, the Nigerian police force was served with an order of injunction by the Federal High Court made on the 19th of July 2024, barring the police from participating in the local government elections, deeming it unlawful. Secondly, the Rivers State High Court issued a counter order on the 4th of September 2024, directing the Nigerian Police Force and other federal security agencies to provide security at the local government elections. It should be noted that the Nigerian Police Force was not joined as a party in this suit.
P has directed the reopening of all local government secretariats closed by the outgoing council chairman and an end to the violence in the state. He assured all that the police, as a law-abiding organization, is committed to maintaining law and order, rule of law, and protection of democratic institutions. He decried the misinformation and outright falsehoods being put in the public domain as unfortunate, urging the stakeholders to allow peace to reign. The National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons has condemned the destruction of a proposed skills acquisition center in Nsu Ehime Mbano local government area in Imo State aimed at training persons of concern and IDPs by unidentified persons. The Federal Commissioner, Tijani Aliyu Ahmed, at a press briefing in Abuja, says the previous visit by his team was to ascertain the proposed site to utilize the building as a skills acquisition center to train returned migrants, refugees, and internally displaced persons who are victims of flood and communal clashes and other youths in the state.
Primary goal of NTA is to protect, assist and maintain the welfare of refugees, migrants and internally displaced persons in Nigeria. Unfortunately, some individuals spread false information regarding the purpose of the visit and the intended use of the facility. It is unfortunate that such misinterpretation of information has caused distress within the affected community. We sincerely express our deepest sympathy the Executive Governor, Senator Hope Oduzoma, and the good people of Imo State over this tragic event. We equally appeal to all members of the affected community to remain calm and avoid any further acts of violence and destruction of their own assets, as they all belong to them.
The Federal Commissioner emphasizes that similar skills acquisition centers are being proposed at the 6 geopolitical zones across the country to serve the population in each respective zone. He states that the Commission remains committed to fulfilling its mandate of providing sustainable and durable solutions to persons of concern. The Nigerian Police Force Zone 16, Yenagoa, Bayelsa State, has paraded 15 suspects in connection with the vandalization of 132 kV transmission tower line along Ahoda-Mbiama axis of the East-West Road and Ibogene axis in Rivers and Bayelsa States. Aya Prezi was there and filed in this report.
The 15 suspects between the ages of 54 and 20 had been the wanted list of Zone 16 of Nigeria Police Yenagoa for the past few months following their alleged involvement in the vandalization of 132 kV transmission tower line, which has thrown Bayelsa State into darkness for a long time. The arrest, according to the Zone Public Relations Officer SB Gong Ewobowo, was a result of a credible intelligence in Rivers State.
In the course of diligent and painstaking investigation, 35 mm floor core armored cable, 70 mm floor core armored cables, 50 mm SLPE cables, electrical port installator, wheel spanners, cutting blades, long bolts, 11 kV poles, recline cables, earth cables, B-copper and other items were recovered from the suspects.
A call on members of the public to always support law enforcement agencies to succeed in their assignment of ensuring protection of lives and property, crime prevention and clampdown of criminals in the society. The police says the suspects will be charged to court after investigations will have been completed. In Yenagoa, Aya Prezi, NTA News.
In the spirit of interagency collaboration, Niger Kogi Command of the Nigeria Customs Service has handed over 283 blocks of compressed substance suspected to be Indian hemp to the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency. Dauda Mohammed, who witnessed the handover, reports that 9 exotic vehicles of different makes were also confiscated for eluding customs duty.
He packed 283 blocks of compressed substance suspected to be Indian hemp was intercepted during routine patrol by the Kogi Outstation Patrol Team of Nigerian Customs Service along Lokoja-Abuja Expressway. The substance was being conveyed in a used vehicle with a duty-paid value of 5.4 million naira. The driver of the vehicle, however, took to his heels on citing the men of Nigerian Customs Service.
We have to come together as one, I told him, because without them, we cannot do the work effectively.
We appreciate the effort of the Nigeria Customs Service. We equally appreciate the existing cordial relationship that is already there between NDLA and the Nigerian Customs.
Also confiscated by the Niger Kogi Command of the Nigerian Customs Service under the 3-month leadership of Controller Pascal Chibuike are 9 exotic vehicles of different make with a combined duty-paid value of more than 170 million naira.
Before they go for any vehicle in any car shop or smuggle vehicle, they should look for the document and look for any nearest custom formation and go and verify the document. We have a nice platform where you can find from with the C number, you can know whether the vehicle is fake or not.
Controller Chibuike warned smugglers and other economic saboteurs to desist from their nefarious activities or be ready to face the full wrath of the law. Dauda Mohammed, NTA.
And our next set of reports will be coming from our Makurdi Network Center, and Susan O'Malley is there. Hello, Susan.
Hello, Gochuku. Welcome to Makurdi. The Nigerian Navy says it will continue to train and retrain its officers and ratings to prepare them to face contemporary and emerging security threats in the marine environment. Chief of Naval Administration Rear Admiral Kennedy Ezete disclosed this during the combined graduation ceremony of the Naval Police Officers Basic Course and Able Regulators Qualifying Course of the Nigerian Navy Provost and Regulating School, Makurdi. Blessing Omeche Ebute reports.
Let's obey and abide by all the instructions.
The combined graduation ceremony of the Nigerian Navy Provost and Regulating School, Makurdi, is made up of 43 participants. The courses were designed to enrich the students with knowledge in general discipline, naval law, crime prevention, among others.
The students were carefully selected based on their character, discipline, and required prerequisites to be designated and trained as provost personnel.
The courses, which lasted 18 weeks, drilled participants using various methodologies within the school curriculum. This is with an overall objective of teaching the students how to maintain and enforce discipline.
It is pertinent to note that the professional diploma in forensic investigation and security management package conducted by the International Institute of Professional Security was added to the course's curriculum. The inclusion of this package has not only broadened the knowledge of these graduates, but also prepared them to face contemporary and emerging security threats in the maritime environment.
Chief of Naval Administration, Rear Admiral Kennedy Ezete, who represented the Chief of Naval Staff, congratulated the graduating officers and ratings and charged them to strive for professionalism as they discharge their duties henceforth.
For the graduating students, bear in mind that a lot is expected from you in terms of courage, discipline, and professionalism in your duties as provost personnel. This is also a period of transformation for you. It cannot be business as usual.
High point of the ceremony was the presentation of certificates to the graduating students and award of excellence to deserving participants. In Makurdi, Blessing Omeche Ebute, NTA News.
715 people across Taraba State have benefited from the federal government World Bank intervention known as Taraba Cares. Bem Hanya reports that the state deputy governor Aminu Abdullahi Alkali presented checks to beneficiaries of the project at the ceremony in Jalingo, the state capital.
The Taraba Community Action for Resilience and Economic Stimulus Operational and Support Grant to Micro and Small Enterprises is a World Bank and the federal government of Nigeria assisted project in partnership with the Taraba state government. The beneficiaries who got grants of 50,000 naira each, amounting to 442 million naira, are to use it for poverty eradication and improvement of their enterprises.
I feel really happy. I'm so glad that the government is doing this.
I'm promising God helping us that we will invest into our already existing business.
The state deputy governor Aminu Abdullahi Alkali, who flagged off the program, and the Taraba state program coordinator Polycarp Adi expressed a hope that the funds will be deployed for the intended purpose with a view to contributing to the economic prosperity of the state.
The aim of the program is to prevent the collapse and facilitate the recovery of micro and small enterprises.
I appeal to you to reject the temptation of using these funds on your social and ineligible activities.
Checks will be disbursed to more beneficiaries in subsequent batches. In Jalingo, Bem Hanya, NTA News.
That does it from Makurdi. Nationwide continues with Ogochukwu in Abuja after this timeout.
The Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria has refuted a video circulating online depicting a disagreement between its staff and an individual over cargo charges at the Murtala Muhammad International Airport Terminal. In a statement by the Director, Public Affairs and Consumer Protection, Obiageli Ora, the authority says the individual involved is not a passenger but a cargo agent conducting illegal operation at the airport, noting that there was no form of molestation by FAN staff but only ensuring that correct levy was paid, while reminding Nigerians of their mandate to clear guidance of policies and procedures at the airports. The authority urges Nigerians to adhere to the rules guiding their operations. Zamfara State Governor Dauda Lawal mourns the death of 9 personnel of the State Community Protection Guards in an ambush at a checkpoint located few meters from Safi town, the headquarters of Tafi local government area of Zamfara State. Governor Lawal, in a statement by his spokesperson Suleiman Bala Idris, described the attack as barbaric act committed by dispersed terrorists on the run. He commended the bravery of the Zamfara Community Protection Guards and other troops for their sacrifice to protect people's lives. The statement extends the governor's condolences on behalf of the government and people of Zamfara State to the families and loved ones of the guards, with a pledge to support the families and always remember sacrifice of the fallen operatives. And now, sports update.
Nigeria's under-20 men's football team, the Flying Eagles, commenced final phase of preparations Tuesday at their new training base at the Raymond Star Stadium, Ikenne, Ogun State. Coach Aliu Zubairu had full complement of his players as the team had its first training in preparation to defend their Waffle B trophy in Lome, Togo. Nigeria is grouped alongside Burkina Faso and Cote d'Ivoire in the Waffle B Under-20 tournament, which kicks off on October 17, ahead of the commencement of the FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup in Dominican Republic on October 16th. Nigeria's Under-17 girls, the Flamingos, were forced to a 1-1 draw against their Mexican counterparts Monday evening in a warm-up game. The Flamingos will begin their campaign at the tournament against New Zealand on October 16th, 2024. Still talking football, as the Super Eagles players continue to arrive their camp in Uyo for the 2024-25 African Cup of Nations qualifiers against Libya come Friday, 11th October. President of the Nigerian Football Federation, Ibrahim Gosol, says the players will be given the needed support and motivation to ensure the team qualifies for the next African Cup of Nations.
If you look at the momentum now gathered by the Super Eagles team, you know at least there is some level of progress. And by the grace of God, going forward, I know everybody among these young players know what is at stake.
In another development, the Nigerian Olympic Committee Medical and Scientific Commission, in partnership with the International Olympic Committee, is conducting a 4-day workshop on basic life support training and heart savers in Lagos to enhance the emergency response skills. 60 participants have been divided into 4 groups, 15 taking part each day. The Nigerian Olympic Committee says the workshop, which has both theoretical and practical sessions, is dedicated to promoting health and safety medical education in sports.
Once you recognize that somebody's heart has stopped, and how do you know that the heart has stopped? If there is no pulse and the person is not breathing, this should be within the golden seconds, which is 10 seconds. We start chest compression. Chest compression, 30 compressions, you give 2 breaths.
Important for us as the Nigerian Olympic Committee to ensure that the coaches, the technical directors, the athlete handlers are enlightened on basic life support so that they know how to do CPR and all that.
With Sports Update, Gift George, NTA News.
Your gifts, and that's nationwide today. Many thanks for watching. Do have a very good evening.